Having trouble with money and building wealth? Is there something more going on than simply not having enough cash to start with? Could it be something psychological? Really? Take a listen to this interview.
Welcome to Lean to the Left, home of no-holds-barred commentary, plus interviews with fascinating people. Some of them top experts, others simply with interesting stories to tell. You'll never know who'll show up at Lean to the Left. Now here's your host, Bob Gaddy.
Richard Friesen is the founder of the Mind Muscles Academy and creator and developer of the innovative and exclusive Mind Muscles training process that turns the psychology of money and wealth on its head. Richard works with financial professionals, independent traders, business leaders, and entrepreneurs of all types who want to expand their mental game to make more consistent profits. With experience as a broker, floor trader, financial software developer, and entrepreneur, he brings concrete, real-world experience to his clients. During the years dedicated to building mind muscles, Rich was an independent consultant to the financial industry, specializing in intellectual property development and management. He also founded and built ePit Systems, a software company which produced internet exchange software solutions. And before that, Rich founded, built, and sold Trade Management LLC, one of the most consistently profitable options in equity trading firms on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. Friesen is a popular speaker on the psychology of money management, politics, and personal transformation. His latest book, entitled A Private Conversation with Money, is available on Amazon. Rich, welcome to the Lean to the Left podcast.
Bob, it's so good to be here. We've had a little chat beforehand, and I got a feeling we're going to have a lot of fun.
That's good. I'm looking forward to it. You say that one of the reasons why a lot of us haven't been able to build as much wealth as we'd like, that the roots are psychological. Really? In other words, money makes us crazy?
Or crazy makes us financially insecure.
I don't know. It certainly makes me crazy, that's for sure.
Good. Maybe we can just do a session right here.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah, it might come up.
Yeah.
You know, what we have, especially today, if I look back at my upbringing, culturally, politically, religiously, there wasn't a lot of internal conflict about our future wealth, success. But now with our culture so heavily divided, and if I look at my clients, how they grew up, their families, some families were whoopee, if we got it, we spend it. Others, money is so tight, we don't let it go. Some people were brought up in poverty and the wealthy people were evil. And you and I share a religious background, and money was the root of evil in some of our religious upbringing. So we incorporated all that, and along with our educational system today, our peer group pressure, wokeness, conservatism, you bring it all in, and oh my gosh, it's no wonder we don't have clear energy around money. We're so internally conflicted that it's very difficult to move forward clearly and cleanly.
I cracked me up. You brought up wokeness. I'm not even sure what the hell wokeness is. Are you?
Yeah, well, this is a really hard question. So if you have, let's say, on one extreme, a conservative religious framework for your beliefs in the world,
yeah,
you have something that is fairly concrete. You have a culture and a community that has expectations for you, and there's the morality, and what you strive for is pretty clear. If we look at the current culture, and we can, philosophically, you can call it postmodernist philosophy, the anchors that you have are shifting according to the socially accepted values. And as a result, those can go off into an extreme. I'm in the process of starting a book called Healing the Political Divide. And in it, I talk about the extremes of all positions. And every position has a positive intent. It has a terrific contribution. And then some of us, because of our human fallibility, we go off the rails in one direction or the other. And that's where I think you talked about being crazy. That is because of the human frailty. That is a vulnerability we all face, and that includes myself.
Now, you say that your training as a therapist opens the door to money behaviors that no longer serve us, yet we repeat them constantly. What are you talking about?
Sure. One of the advantages I've had was working with active traders, because as you mentioned in the intro, my background is in trading, is in financial investing. So the advantage of working with active traders and money managers is that there is a really clear feedback mechanism. It's the dollars. There's not much more. It's not complicated. You're either making it or you're not. And as a result of that, I could really suss out the psychological components of people's relationship with money and their success and their failure. So what I use is money as a symptom of some of the deeper issues that my clients face.
What are you talking about?
For example, I'll be working with a client who will trade very steadily. He'll follow a system, and then he'll get to a point, or she'll get to a point, where all of a sudden they go on tilt and they start losing money. In fact, I've had clients work for 3-4 months to 6 months, slowly make money, and then lose it all in a day or 2 days.
Wow.
So what happens is we hit a point where our financial situation has exceeded our identity and beliefs about ourselves and the world. And then we have a survival mechanism that comes in and says, whoa, guy, you're way out of your identity and belief system. In fact, I have a story that I could tell you. It takes about 5 minutes about my own personal life.
Go ahead.
It was April of 1995. It was the middle of the night. I was asleep and I heard a voice. And the voice said, "Rich, you're only worth $200,000 a year." I woke up, looked around the room, expecting somebody to be there. My wife was still sleeping, so I realized it was a voice inside of my head.
Okay.
So I got up, I showered, I dressed, and I drove across the Golden Gate Bridge to the Pacific Exchange in San Francisco. And I got there so early that the doors were still closed. I sat on the concrete steps between the big pillars, and I thought, what does that voice mean? And I realized that it was part of my identity, of my worthiness, of my abilities, my skill levels. So when the doors opened, I went to, they don't have trading pits anymore. So a lot of the younger people, this will be totally outside of their visual concept. But imagine 20 by 20 place with 150 men and women, and they're yelling and screaming orders. So normally I stood at the back of the pit, Rich Friesen, philosophy major, therapist, former psychologist, looking at the pit and being very careful, taking small bites out of orders, doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And to give you some background is that when I started trading on my own, I made $125,000 the first year, then $150,000, $175,000, and then I got stuck at $200,000 a year.
Okay.
And and at that point, at the back of the pit, I said, I'm done with that voice. It was just a belief system I had about myself. So I went and stood in the best spot in the pit, right up front. And you got to understand, the pit's kind of like a jungle, Lord of the Flies. the toughest, the meanest, the most capitalized, the most socially adept, they get that spot, the best spot. Rich Friesen stood in that best spot. And the other traders and market makers came in, and the guy who always stood there, who owned that spot, looked at me, looked at the clock. Just a minute before the bell, he tapped me on the shoulder, say, "Okay, Rich." I didn't move.
Yeah.
So right away, a pushing match started. The whole pit went, whoa, and backed up. The order book official, the exchange official said, "Hey, you guys get into a fight. It's a $10,000 fine for each of you." So I stood my ground. The bell went off, and Rich Friesen went crazy. I'm going to step back from the mic. 550, sell you 20. Buy them, sell you, sold, sell 10. I just went crazy. And I went on to make many times that $200,000 limit.
Yeah.
So what it was my belief system, my worthiness. And when I started building a trading firm, about a third of the traders would make great money because I had a process of trading options and stocks and futures. About a third of them would do okay, not bad, but okay. And about a third of them just wouldn't make it. So I thought, maybe they have some internal conflicts like I did. So I brought in a hypnotherapist. It turned out I got lucky. My sister, Wendy, had just graduated from hypnotherapy school. And so she came in and started working with the traders. And one of them was from poverty in West Virginia, very smart guy. But if he made more money, subconsciously, he would isolate himself from his family. Another one had a handicapped brother and a younger brother, and he resented him. If he made money, his mom would come to him to take care of his brother. And there was 3 or 4 more stories like that. They had internal conflicts about money, success, wealth, and identity.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. Now, is that where Mind Muscles Academy comes in?
Exactly. That's the perfect lead in. That from that experience on the floor and working with traders, that once I sold my company and I started a software company, which is a whole divergent, but I had manuals, I had stacks of cards and all sorts of these scattered ideas. So I started training in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, started putting it together. And out of that came Mind Muscles Academy and eventually my book, A Private Conversation with Money.
Exactly what is Mind Muscles Academy?
Mind Muscles Academy is an invitation to its clients to step into rapport with money, meaning, and wealth. So we look at all the issues that most people have. We have online courses. In fact, I'm just developing a course called Alpha Presence, and the ability to take people who are uncomfortable with relationships and personal power and to invite them to step into it. So our whole goal is to give you a rapport with yourself, the world, in a way that gets you to your goals and honors your values.
How do people get involved with Mind Muscles Academy?
Oh, they can go to mindmuscles.com, and that's a jump off place depending on what they want. They can send me an email, rich@mindmuscles.com, and I can help guide them as how we can help best.
Okay. Now, is there a charge for being involved with Mind Muscles Academy?
I'm always happy to talk to anybody. I just love conversation, so we can start there. But online courses and online, there's just a lot of support there. You can, in fact, if you go to conversations.money, there's a huge amount of just free online stuff, or Mind Muscles for Traders. There's just a lot of free stuff. There's online courses and there's booklets and things that run from $20 all the way up to private and personal coaching.
Excellent. Now, what is set awareness? What is the set awareness workout? What's that about?
One of our core methods is called the Golden Keys. And that's awareness, acceptance, and then to develop agency, to ask, now what do I want? So the set scores are a way to break down awareness in a way that we can start self-awareness. So the S is for our sensations, our physical sensations. So in fact, let's do it right now. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to just pay attention to my body. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down.
Okay.
My face is fairly loose, jaw's loose. My throat feels fairly relaxed. I notice my chest is really tight now. I'm going, I'm machine gunning.
Okay.
I'm going to take a breath and I'm not, one of the things is awareness. I'm not beating myself up. I'm just noticing, say, okay, what would I like? Rather than machine gunning Bob Gaddy. What if I took a relaxing breath and we just had more of a conversation? Okay, I'm going down to my stomach. It's a little tight. And down to my legs. So there's the set. There's the physical sensations. Then I look at my emotions. So I'll take a moment. I'm feeling excited. Just a judgment. I just noticed a judgment come in. So then I look at my thoughts, which are, okay, I'm talking to you, so it's more of a challenge to be aware of my thoughts in real time. But if I stop for a moment, I just noticed a slight judgment about me rushing and pushing a little bit.
Okay.
So we take our set scores and we start with awareness, and then we add acceptance. Can we both be aware of what's going on in our lives without judgment? In other words, if I'm going to discover that my stomach's tight or my voice is tight or I'm machine gunning Bob Gaddy, if I say, oh, you idiot, what are you doing? Then what I really need to get down to, the deeper awarenesses are going to say, I don't want to expose myself to that guy. So we accept what we discover. And with clients, this is really important. I look at the physiology, their face, their motions, their voice quality, and then sometimes that will trigger a deeper voice inside of them. And sometimes we can get to the truth much faster rather than through analysis by just asking their physiology to speak to us.
Okay. Is that it? At the end of that thought? Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about your book, A Private Conversation with Money. I gather that this all flowed from this experience that you're talking about, right?
Yes, indeed. One of my concern is, and leaning to the left, this might become a very interesting conversation, is I look at our cultural divide. And if we look at the left end of the political and psychological spectrum, there's just a huge conflict. I'm taking this to the extreme, so this may not be your users or you, but at the extremes, it's the wealth that the wealthy people have too much. We need equity. We need to share it. If you're rich, you're probably an asshole. We need to tax more to bring equity to us. So you have all of those beliefs. And people who are good-hearted, people who want a better world for everybody, you take all that in, and it creates internal conflicts and stress because you want a secure financial future. You want to take care of your family. And yet you have all these niggling little things from the extremes that prevent you from rapport with money, meaning, and wealth. So my book takes a journalist, Joe, who's definitely leaning, in fact, maybe way leaning to the left. And he meets the character Money. And he and Money have Socratic conversations. By that, being questioned, pushing deeper, and they get into a huge amount of fights and conflicts, and they continually move towards resolution so that Joe can move from anger And from just angry at the system to actually delivering value. And in the book, the way he delivers value is through improving the educational system. And he ends up inheriting a charter school in the inner city. And he works to really work with kids who have been disadvantaged and give them not just a standard book learning education, but how the world works, how skill stacking works, and what they need to move forward and give them hope in the world. And that's, if I look at my personal values and look at the concerns of the world, I see a lot of people who don't have a model for hope. And that is just very painful to consider that they're human beings in the world in that condition.
Wow, that's amazing.
When we come back, we'll talk to Richard about his newest book, his latest book that he's working on, Healing the Political Divide.
Now, your new book you just mentioned a minute ago, what's the name of it again, the one that you're working on?
Healing the Political Divide.
Yeah, now does that kind of follow up your first book, Private Conversation?
Yeah, if we look at the psychological principles of how do I have rapport with myself, maintain my values in the world, then we can look at what the extension is. I belong to some very left-leaning, transformational, psychological woo-woo groups.
Woo-woo groups?
Yeah. But they've provided me tremendous value in the past to be in a group that is accepted, that loves you for who you are, and they have just a tremendous amount of value for a lot of people. And I look at that value and how it translates into their political views. So my job in this book that's coming up is to help them coordinate their deepest values, their love of humankind, their acceptance, into an effective political sphere.
Okay. Is it a book that helps you successfully invest your money while holding on to your principles?
It's a book about principles. It doesn't have any investing strategy in it.
Okay.
And the basic principle is delivering value. For example, one of the concepts we have is certificates of appreciation. So, Bob, if you do something for me and I go, okay, here is a certificate of appreciation. Here's my money. So if we relabel that certificates of appreciation, when you receive it, all of a sudden we're outside the realm and all the history and guilt and trouble and stress around money. We are now into a human connection where you've delivered value to me and I give you an appreciation. Conversely, it goes the other way. If I do a service for you, you give me a certificate of appreciation in the form of money and I go, wow, I've done some good for the world. So we reframe money to a certificate of appreciation. Now, Bob, you're going to have to hold on to your head here because this might blow it open.
Okay.
The more certificates of appreciation that I collect honestly and delivering value, the more value I have delivered to the world.
Okay.
Now, there's value. Martin Luther King, huge amount of value to the world that had nothing to do with money, for example. Taking care of my family. There's far outpaced the value we deliver to the world than in commercial. But if you decide to go into the commercial world, as many of us do, the more certificates we receive, the more value we've delivered in the commercial world.
Okay. I need some more certificates, that's for sure.
Okay.
All right. Now, I want to go back to mind muscles for a minute. You said that everyone can build new mind muscles designed to expand their personal awareness. Can you explain what you meant there?
Sure. The easy analogy is when you go to the gym and you work out. How does it feel the first day?
Okay.
Yeah, you're sore. Yeah. Second day you're sore. Your muscles grow by stressing them. If we look neurologically, for example, maybe you're old enough. When I started to drive a car at 14, they gave me a license at 14 years old. I can't believe that in Kansas.
Really?
Yeah.
14.
14. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
This stick shift, put the clutch in. That time the stick shift was on the column. Put it in first gear.
Sure.
Let the clutch, try to give it more gas, the engine dies. Now, you and I could be traveling down the freeway and we could have a discussion about postmodern philosophy. What happens is all those neurological connections about driving the car haven't been made. So as we do it more and more, these connections are made and they're automated. So we don't even have to think about it. So when you talk about creating new behaviors, new beliefs, all this is like building muscles in a gym. At first, they're not there. You have to focus and repeat them. So if we create new behaviors that serve us better through repetition, eventually they become automated.
Okay. Now, you wrote a blog that I saw the other day, Uncover Your Creative Victim in 15 Minutes. What's that all about, Rich?
Yeah, see if I can remember it. What happens is, one of the primary aspects of mental and emotional health in my current model, by the way, I'm going to stop here. The reason I say my current model is to keep me from being attached to a truth that boxes me in.
Okay.
As I learn more and find out more. So I'm in the habit now of saying my current model or my current way of thinking. So in my current model, one of the aspects of health is agency. So, for example, if my wife looks at me or says something cross to me, immediately there's this old response.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I do is with agency, I say, oh, I'm aware of it. My chest is tight. I'm a little irritated. But with agency, I say, oh, okay, how would I like to experience this? And I can choose how to experience that rather than reacting. So that's the higher level agency. So victimhood, on the other hand, and again, we're talking about extremes here, is you did something to me, or there was an event, and the meaning of that event comes packaged with that event. So the meaning to me is already determined by the event itself. Whereas with agency, I can say, there's the event. Oh, how do I choose to make that mean for me? So victimhood is if you don't have the ability to create meaning, but the meaning comes with the event. I think that's probably what that blog was about. But anyway, that's an important piece of information anyway. Okay,
good. Now, you wrote another blog, The Value of Information and Belonging. It talks about filling our emotional need for belonging. I think you talked about that a little bit. And our critical thinking need for surprises, reframes, and challenges. What are you talking about there, Rich?
Okay, so when I talk to a client, and let's say they've gotten along in their family and their social group by being really nice, trying to please, especially if mom or dad was emotionally volatile, being really sensitive to other people, being an empath, as it were. And that's the way we belong. Or if we look at our political beliefs, if I look at my friends on the right, I look at my good friends on the left, I look at my libertarian friends, a whole part of their belief system is wrapped up in their groups that they choose to belong to and the way they choose to belong to them. Yeah. So if we look at information that just solidifies the beliefs that I have, in the peer group that I have, I'm safe. There's no risk to that. But what if I take in information that's different? What if I allow information that does not support that belief system? Oh my gosh. Am I going to be shunned from that group? I grew up in a Mennonite background, and if you look at the extreme of that, the Amish, there was shunning if you didn't have the right beliefs and the behaviors. But in today's political climate, both on the right and the left, they're shunning if you look at something different. So if information is just the same as your group, it's noise. It's just amplification and allows you to bond with your group. On the other hand, if you take in information that is a surprise, it's different, it's something that challenges you, then it's actually valuable because it's information that's going to add to your abilities to deal with the world. But it also is going to conflict with your belonging.
Okay. Now, what's all that have to do with making money in the stock market?
Okay. So let's start even lower. What's that? How do we make money? First, if my clients are conflicted, for example, a client will come and say, I want to make a lot of money. I'll give it away. I'll be a philanthropist. That tells me we're already dealing with a lot of guilt. So my job is to look at our core relationship with money, our psychological health around money, success, and meaning. Then once we get there, then we can look at your skill stack and your opportunities and the abilities you have to see what direction to go. Now, as far as investing goes, there are times that it's pretty clear that you want to invest for the long term. Now, the question is now, we look at the Silicon Valley Bank, we look at probably a lot of banks that have similar conditions. Are we going to see that same growth? And this is high risk. So when we're in a high risk situation, then we move to preservation rather than growth. And that's where I am right now. I'm into preservation mode.
Okay. All right. Now, after all of this, Rich, what would you say the keys are to being financially independent, financial freedom?
Yeah. One of the exercises that I do with my clients is called the 3-chair exercise. And in it, I set up 3 chairs all facing each other in the triangle, and I have them bring in what represents money. Some people have brought in gold, some a pile of $100 bills, a brokerage statement, whatever. And I have them talk to money. And out of that, we get a whole bunch of interesting inner voices. For example, you just leave me, you come, you go, I can't hold on to you. You seem so far away. Or, oh, I love you. I want more of you, but I don't know how to get you. So we have all these attitudes towards money. We have them sitting in the money chair, and often money will tell them exactly why they're staying away, why they're not more part of their lives. And then we have them sit in a wise observer chair, note the conversation in the process. So the job for the financial future is first to gain rapport with money, meaning, and your values. And once those are together, then we can look at how do you add value. I don't know if you're familiar with vision boards. And often,
No, I'm not.
Yeah, all vision boards, that was a bigger thing in the 70s, where you put a cork board up and you put all the things you want, swimming pools, Maseratis, a hot babe, whatever,
Yeah, right.
whatever it is you want, and you envision it.
Right.
And that can sometimes be helpful and give you some clarity about where you're going. But what I have is a value board instead. And it ends up with the value you're going to deliver to your family, your employer, your employees, your community. What value are you going to deliver? Now, then we work back from there. What skills do you need? What knowledge do you need? What connections do you need? And how do you deliver that value? And once you come to clarity about how you're going to deliver that value, and again, knowing that life will take you in many different directions, now we have a clear vision of the future. My vision is to deliver value. Once that becomes just a core part of yourself, everything else, the whole world opens up to you.
Okay. Now, you have an online course in which you present 10 money liberating exercises, Rich. What are they? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we just talked about one of them, and that's the 3-chair exercise. We have more analytic exercises where you take a very left view of the world and analyze it and break down the language. A very libertarian view of the world, we analyze it and break down the language, because a lot of us get swayed just back and forth with the news, the language, the different things that are coming at it. So the job is to develop agency around what you hear. There's exercises on your history. What generationally has been handed down about your beliefs around money and success, so that we can go down and learn about those. Hidden anchors to wealth, what might be stopping you. Some people are afraid that if they get money, they'll become an asshole. So we look at, okay, let's step into money. What is your experience? And how do you prevent yourself from that fear? We talk about capital. What is the value of capital? And capital expands the timeline of what you're able to contribute to the world. Here's a big one. What will you lose if you become successful and wealthy? And people go, huh? Oh, I won't lose anything. Of course not. But as we drill down, almost 70% of my clients will come up with stuff like, oh, all the accounting. Oh, taxes. Oh, my relatives will come to me for money. Oh, all the things. I'll just buy things and then they'll just tie me down and I'll have to take care of stuff. And everybody's different, but they come up with a whole bunch of things that they'll lose. And the theme that keeps coming back is I'll lose my freedom if I have lots of money. So these are all subconscious belief systems. So we do a whole thing is what happens if you become wealthy? How do we create a vision of that is okay with your values and who you are? So those are the kind of exercises that we do that hit almost all the sore points that I've discovered in my clients over the last 30 years.
Okay. That's interesting. Now, you've got an offer for my listeners that you mentioned. Can you explain what that is and how people can take advantage of it?
Sure. If they go to conversations.money/left, L-E-F-T, there is a page there, and it's a coupon that brings the online course down to the fantastic price of $0. So your listeners can get the course, and I encourage them, of course, to get them the book also, because the course is a companion to the book. But if they want, they can just go through the course. And there's also just a ton of blogs on conversations.money for free. And of course, there's always an invitation to see how we can support you in different ways.
Okay, great. Now, how can people connect with you, Rich, and find your book?
Yeah, the book is almost everywhere. I just finished the audiobook. There's the ebook, there's the paper cover, and even a hardback, and that's on Amazon and all booksellers. So that is a private conversation with money, and that is available in almost all formats and almost everywhere.
All right. Have you got anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah. I just appreciate the conversation. And Bob, you've asked some really great questions, and you've opened me up, and you've gotten me excited. And I notice right now I'm so going, woo, you've really jacked me up here. So
glad to know that.
And if you take a look at yourself and the money issues, and you just take a moment to look at your own belief systems, they're a microcosm of how everyone else is facing and the world is facing. So can we give a gift to people so that they can feel safe and secure in their financial future? And can we raise a generation of kids that are educated and have the ability to deliver value and receive compensation? My gosh, if I look at one of the pain points that I see is our educational system, especially inner city and disadvantaged kids. And can we create an educational system that allows them and permits them to deliver value and receive a ton of certificates of appreciation?
Okay. Richard, that sounds great. I appreciate you joining us today on Lean to the Left. This topic need not be a political discussion. It's not a political discussion. Everybody needs to find a way to improve their financial situation, I think. I certainly know that I do. And so I hope that this has been helpful to you guys that are listening and watching this episode. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Bob. And I look forward to a follow-up conversation after you've read the book and taken the course.
Now one more break, and I'll be right back with some closing comments. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you'll come back on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that I hope you find interesting, entertaining, and enlightening. Our episodes stream weekly, every Monday. Let your friends know about this podcast and take a minute to subscribe. Just go to podcast.leantotheleft.net to subscribe, check out the upcoming interview schedule, and listen to all of our episodes. And follow us on social media. Facebook at the Lean to the Left Podcast, Twitter at Lean to the Left 1, Instagram at BobGaddy_Lean to the Left, and TikTok at Lean to the Left. And you can watch the episodes at YouTube at Lean to the Left. And don't forget to visit our blog site, leantotheleft.net, where you'll find commentary on the news by some excellent writers with progressive perspectives on a whole range of topics. You can sign up as a member there, and of course, it's all free. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.